Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders. And we have a very, very special guest all the way from Canada today, Urmi Hossain. Welcome to the show, Urmi.
Thank you for having me.
That's awesome. So happy to have you. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Urmi. She's a self-published author, speaker, blogger, podcast host, polyglot, mentor, all of those things as well. Urmi is also both a chartered financial analyst and a chartered alternative investment analyst. Now, I know a lot of our listeners and viewers can really use that help. Her first book, Discovering Your Identity, a rebirth from interracial struggle, reflects her journey as a third culture kid navigating questions of belonging, culture, and self-worth. And these are questions that I think most of us can relate to. So without further ado, I'll launch straight into the questions. Are you ready, Urmi?
Ready?
Awesome. So the first question is, what would you say are some of the biggest personal obstacles you have overcome on your way to success, and how did you do it? Let us know.
Yes, I would say that my biggest obstacle was in relation to judgment. Judgment from other people. I was always so much concerned about people's opinions every time I wanted to do something that I was passionate about. Me speaking up in front of, let's say, YouTube channels or starting my own podcast, it was always a concern about, okay, I'm doing all of this, but do I want people to know that I'm doing this? And the fear was not like the fear from strangers. It was more fear from people that you know. And sometimes you get those, criticism or people saying negative things to you from people that are closer to you. And for me, that was probably one of the biggest, obstacle. I was like, how can I unlearn that and how can I overcome that? And then I was listening to some like podcasts, watching videos, and someone was saying, people will always talk about you no matter what you do. And I was like, you know what, that is true. And so I told myself, if people want to talk about me, I will give them something to talk about. So little by little, I started to, let's say, on top of my potential, and I started to be comfortable with the things that I was very much uncomfortable with. Like I was so afraid of even having a picture of myself online. I remember thinking all of my profiles were private, but then one of my friends were like, you have so much to offer to the world, so why are you hiding yourself behind the screen? And so I started to believe in that. I had people believing me, and by those beliefs, I started to believe in myself, and that's how I overcome all these obstacles.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that you shared that because that's something that so many of our viewers and listeners can relate to. Finding that voice and being able to stand in your own power and your own authenticity. Congratulations. I mean, that's such an incredible achievement. Because,
Thank you.
for one thing, I heard something really great recently that I think will be really really appropriate at this moment, and that is someone, I can't remember who it was, but someone said, when you start to hear from haters, you're on the right path, you're doing something right, and I love that because, as you say, people will always have an opinion, and that's fantastic. Thank you so much for that input, Omi. The second question is, please tell us about your business. You do so much.
Well, I wouldn't call it a business, but I do things that looks like I'm running a business. I do a bunch of things, like I publish my own books, I run my podcast. But one thing that I do outside of my 9 to 5 is being part of an organization called Women in Leadership, which is basically an organization based in Canada. It's a nonprofit organization. So basically, how it works, we have Canada, and within Canada, we have different chapters. So I am part of the Montreal chapter that we're starting to basically bring it back because for a while it was dormant. So we have been like recruiting people that we want to bring into our team. And basically, what Women in Leadership does, it's really the big mission is to really empower the women in our community to basically help them become the women, the leaders they are meant to be. So it's really helping them to find the courage to speak up, the courage to pursue their dreams. And we provide basically like tools such as mentorship program, leadership development program. We have networking opportunities. We also have a Women in Leadership Day, which happens basically at the end of May. Where we have women coming in, exchanging ideas. We have workshops. So basically, it's really about empowering the women in our community because we believe in what they can bring. And sometimes, we need to cheer other women to help them to achieve, their goals and help them to become the women that they're meant to be. So this is what I've been working on with other women who are part of the chapter, and now we're trying to build build back the chapter in Montreal.
Wow, it sounds amazing. I mean, here's to women empowering women. That's fantastic. It sounds like we're so aligned in purpose. It's
Yes,
awesome.
yes.
So I'm really and it sounds like you're so passionate about it. So tell me, let's focus on that, okay? What were the first few steps you took to get this up and running?
Let me tell you this. I was always so the organization was already established, just to like make it clear, but I was like I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to be part of something that was big. And I really had to think a little bit about my own personal journey, my own personal story. Like, why was it so important for me to be part of this organization and to stand for something that was so meaningful for me. And for me, it just comes from my own experience of how I've seen women being treated in South Asian, like in South Asian cultures. Sometimes there is, if you are a girl, people are already thinking, okay, who's gonna get married to this girl? How are we gonna find a husband for her? Or there's always a worry. Women are often segregated, they're often seen as a financial burden. There's so much gendered stereotypes. And I was like, you know what? This has to change. It really has to change. And that's where I started to look into like, organizations that were really believing in the same thing that I do. So then what happened is I found out about the organization itself. So initially, I used to be part of the Victoria chapter, which is basically in another part of Canada, and I used to basically do like interviews with people. I used to run the Instagram account, meet other, women coaches, talk about leadership. And then eventually I came to the Montreal chapter because I was looking for those in-person connections that you don't, there's often it's hard to get virtually. And so I
Especially
wanted to
this
make
day
more,
and age. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. And so I wanted to make a much bigger impact. And so that's why I saw the opportunity that if I can be part of something that's like based in my own city, that I know that I can make a bigger impact. And I do want to see, the fruition of my work. Now I want to see how do we say, the fruit of my labor. So now
Yes.
I feel like I can do it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's really, really great. So obviously you're passionate about this. And I
Yeah.
think that was actually my next question. I think you've just told us why you're so passionate about all this.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think that there are so many limitations that women face, whether it's cultural, religious,
Yeah.
societal, or whatever it is. And it
Yeah.
just amazes me that this still happens in this day and age. So I think that it's really, really powerful and wonderful that all of us women are coming together. And it's not about feminism in the sense of like, denigrating men or, it's not about
Exactly.
anything to do with men. It's about women and what we can do. And I think that's fantastic. So
Yeah.
tell me, what have been your biggest challenges so far in those terms?
Uh, that's a good question, to be honest. I feel like Everything is it's a learning process. You
Mm.
know, when you are doing something and you want to see the results, basically you're not gonna see the results overnight. I had to learn it pretty much the hard way, especially because I think when you hear people speaking and you see how successful they are, you think that this happened like literally over 24 hours and they just become successful. But I had to learn that sometimes a lot of these things take time. You have to be patient and you really have to keep learning and adapting yourself. And I always say it's a trial and error. You have to see what fits you, you have to see what works for you. And I also would say that it's also about networking and finding the right people. Like for instance, I participate to so many events that are all about entrepreneurship and women running businesses because I like to get their idea. So I also think that, when it comes to doing this, it's also about meeting the right people, connecting with the right people, and being surrounded by the right people.
Yeah.
Like like we say, if you're surrounded by millionaires, then chances are you're gonna become a millionaire or something like that. Like I heard that
You're so
saying.
right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree
And
with that. Go on. Sorry.
no, 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 no. So I was just saying that I do agree in the power of like, being with the right people and connecting with the right people, but it's a lot about learning and you really have to keep learning if you want to succeed. So that's I would say probably what was my biggest challenge. Yeah.
That is, well, it sounds like you overcame it, which was again, you've preempted the next question. Have you overcome these challenges? And if so, how did you do it? But you brought up some really good points there in terms of networking and in terms of learning, because what's that saying? When you stop learning, we die. I mean, we're here to grow and learn, and it's fantastic that especially with patients too. I think that a lot of us, you're absolutely right. We expect things to happen overnight and they don't. So patience is really valuable. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Mm.
Okay, so my next question to you is how do you keep motivated through difficult times? What keeps you going, Urmi?
You know what? So here's the thing, what keeps me going? I go to sleep thinking when it will be morning. Like I'm just so excited about doing things. And I'm honestly that's how I am. Like I'm always super excited. I'm always looking forward to the things that I have to do. I just think that I love the things that I do. Like I feel like I found the right things. So I always have that spark. And I always think about, my mission, how I want to help other people, how I want to make an impact. So I feel like and this goes back to the concept of like learning, which is this mindset that I have adopted, which is about being a lifelong learner. And I had to learn it a little bit by working in the corporate world, meaning that I started to, I finished school and I was like, yeah, okay, learning is over. But I realized that it does not have to stop there.
That's
It
right.
continues. It continues, and it's a mindset that you have to adopt, and you always have to keep learning, whether it is through books, uh, through people, through mentoring, whether it is by watching stuff, TEDx, or and so forth. And so I think I'm always very curious, and so that keeps me going. And so that there is that spark in me. I'm always like, oh, okay, like I can't wait to wake up and like do all of these things. So I'm just, I guess I'm just naturally motivated. I'm not sure. I just like doing the things that I do.
I think you touched on something really, really important there because I can see your passion and enthusiasm bursting through. And that's the most important point is it comes down to your why. And your why
Yeah,
is so strong, your passion and purpose is so strong that it keeps you going through difficult times. So I think that's really important for our viewers and listeners because why? It always comes down to why, doesn't it? Why are you doing this? Yes,
yeah.
I think that's really important. Thank you. Now, the next question is, what are your favorite business tools and resources and why? Like just a couple, not, a whole, a whole gamut of them. But can you think of a couple of business resources that you would recommend to our viewers and listeners?
Honestly, one thing that I very much enjoy doing is reading self-growth and self-development books.
Mhm.
And there is this also this very good podcast that I listen to for anyone who is an entrepreneur. It's called The Boss Babe. I don't know if you know
Our
her.
boss babe. Yes, yes.
Yes. Because she's an entrepreneur and she's also basically building this empire of like women who want to become their own bosses.
Yeah,
And I feel like she provides very good tips to women who want to become entrepreneurs. So I would say that's a good resource. And I really like it because I feel like it's very practical, it's very relatable.
yeah,
She it's also very personal. Because she goes from her own personal experience and she
yeah.
shares it. And often what I like about her is that she started as basically with she had a partner and then basically they went like separate ways. And she also talks about how to run a business also if you're a mom or something. So it touches like another niche of the market. So I feel like that's a good resource for anyone who wants to learn about entrepreneurship. And she also provides tips and tools about, how to manage, let's say, your time. Or let's say she talks about Asana. I don't know if you're familiar with this, which is an app that you can use to organize your time and your task. So
Okay.
I would,
I'm just going to stop you there for a minute. Can you please repeat the name of that app as a resource? I think that's important for our listeners and viewers.
it's called Asana.
Asona, and that's
Asana.
A-S-O-N.
Yes,
A-S-O-N-A.
Asona, something like that. Yes,
Okay, thank you for sharing.
Saona. Yes.
That's great. Thank you for sharing those resources. That's awesome. So tell me, what are your current goals and how are you striving to achieve them? What's on the horizon for you now?
So my current goals are two. So first one is basically I wanna be able to write my second book. And I wanna self-publish it like I did the first one. I don't like to wait on anyone. I don't like to find a publisher. Like I just like to go on my own time. And the second thing that I want to do is to give a TEDx, which has been my goal since I don't know when. I still haven't achieved it. And I have to say the truth, I find it quite hard. I find it really, really hard because I got few rejections, especially because when you want to deliver a TEDx, you always have to make sure that you have an idea and you have to make sure that it's aligned with the team. I find it quite challenging because last year I got rejected, but I told myself, you know what, I'm not gonna give up. I'm gonna keep trying until I get a
Good
yes.
for you.
Yeah, so and so there is another applications that it's like basically running now, and so I'm planning to apply. So I'm being hopeful, but I know that it's a long journey. But you have to be determined. That's what I learned, and you have to be resilient.
Well, that's really good advice, isn't it?
Yeah,
Patience,
yeah,
determination, resilience.
yeah.
Really good advice. Which brings me to my next question. Are you currently running any promos, contests, or giveaways for our listeners and viewers?
I am not, but I do have my book, which is available on Amazon for anyone who wants to, learn a little bit about my story and talk about my experience being a third culture kid growing up into cultures. And I think that's a very relatable stories. And I feel like sometimes we don't talk enough about it because sometimes I feel like people who grow up in two cultures, they do struggle in finding a fit.
Mm.
Sometimes we do want to fit in either one, but it's not about that. It's about embracing both and finding creating your own fit or creating your own box. That's how I like to say it. And I do talk a lot about cross-cultural stories, people being multicultural on my podcast, because again, I think we go through some struggles that people cannot relate to. And I feel like sometimes people look at us and they want to put us in a box, and that's not how it works. Like we really have to be mindful that there is so much diversity out there. So those are my two things. Yeah.
Your book sounds absolutely amazing, and I recommend it to. I'll just tell our listeners and viewers it's called Discovering Your Identity, a Rebirth from Interracial Struggle. And I think it sounds amazing because, that's with world migration, there are so many of us everywhere right now. People are all over the place. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Now, my next question is, what advice would you give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs?
I have so many, honestly. I have so many tips.
Just one big one, one big one. What's the first thing that comes
There
up?
are some. The big one that come up, it just, okay, the reason why I have this one in my mind is because I just came from a networking opportunity that I participated a few weeks ago and even last week about entrepreneurship and women wanting to run a business. So my advice would be that even if you have an idea, or even if you have an interest of wanting to, become an entrepreneur, or you just want to see how it is, attend a networking event that is just for entrepreneurs and speak with other female entrepreneurs, and you will see the spark in their eyes. That's what I noticed. Like I was speaking to so many of them, and they were telling me that they used to work, in their corporate job. Then what happened is one day they were like, I'm done with this. I want to have my own thing because I find it much more fulfilling. And every time I go to this event, I always feel so energized. And I'm like, the power of like women coming together. So my advice would be to the women who just have maybe a little interest, just go and attend any of these events and you will see if this is what you want to do. And even if it's not, it's always good to build those connections because you never know, they might be useful in the future. So that
That's
would be my
right.
advice.
That's really, really good advice. Networking, meeting people, and building that
Yeah.
vibration and that energy from others. And thank you so much. Okay, so this is your last question. How can we connect with you?
So people can connect with me in various ways. So I have my LinkedIn profile. It's called Urmi Hossain. I have my YouTube.
Sorry to interrupt you, Urmi. Can you please spell your name for our listeners
Yes.
and viewers?
So it's Urmi. That's my first name, Urmi. And my last name is Hossain. So it's Hossain. So that's my name on LinkedIn. That's also the name of my YouTube channel. And if people want to find out about my podcast, which is called Stories Beyond Borders, it's available on Apple and Spotify. I also have an Instagram account. And last but not least, I also have my book, which is available on Amazon. It's called Discover Your Identity, Rebirth from Interracial Struggle.
Fantastic. So go ahead to our listeners and viewers, get in touch with Urmi, and us too, have to talk again. Definitely. Thank you so much for your time today, and I wish you amazing success. You're
Thank
incredibly
you.
inspiring. Thank you, Urmi.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Gotta Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.